I'm happy with the last person says we cannot continue to do this blame game thing. When it's right, we should state that it is right. When it's wrong, it is wrong. Clearly, when you inherit an economy that grew by 5.7%, you cannot tell us the economy is in an ICU situation. 5.7 when you left 3.6% in 2016 when you were leaving. When you left a debt, you took Ghana's debt from 47.8% in end of 2012 to 72% by 2016. And then we come, yes, we all mention every time. I'm happy my sister here, Gabriella, said that there was global crisis in addition to our domestic issues, and that resulted in what we saw in 2022. Anytime they fail to admit the fact that there were global crisis, but when President John Mahama goes out of this country and he speaks on any topic concerning economic issues, he mentions and acknowledges that clearly there were global crisis. Yes, the global crisis, in addition to our own domestic issues, forced us to go to the IMF eventually after 2022. There we saw inflation moving by 54% and the cedi losing strength against our trading currencies. Currently, as we speak, inflation has come down to about 23%, and debt to GDP ratio is 61.8%, better from what we left off, we inherited in 2016. My sister here also mentioned quite a number of things, brilliant ideas on the revenue strategy. But let me tell you that when you go on the Ministry of Finance website, the medium-term revenue strategy, as agreed with the IMF, all these things are there, with the exception of the decoupling of the VAT on the GET Fund and the NHIL. All the measures that were announced in the budget are in the medium-term revenue strategy. So that is why I'm saying it is nothing new. This is nothing like reset. You go on the website, the medium-term revenue strategy is there. And let me also put it out there that the COVID-19 levy, the e-levy, and all these other levies are anchors of the program. So you cannot pick and choose that, as for COVID-19, I'm leaving it because it is an anchor of the program. All the revenue measures, including COVID-19 e-levy, are parts of the program. And these are revenue lines that bring in so much money. Last year alone, these two revenue lines brought us 4.7 billion Ghana cedis. And all we are saying is that, yes, you want to take out e-levy, you want to take out this, but be honest with Ghanaians that you cannot pick and choose that I'm taking away e-levy and keeping COVID-19 and following the process because it's an anchor to the IMF program. All the revenue measures are anchor to the IMF program.
The taxes that you promised that you were going to remove when you come into office.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that don't say that is an anchor to the IMF program, that's why you are leaving COVID-19. All the revenue measures are like that. What you have to do is, once you take some out, you have to replace it to close the gap.
So the revenue gap?
Yes, you have to close the revenue gap because on the IMF program, you have to raise revenue to a certain tune. And also, as Ghanaians, we need to raise revenue for our own domestic use.
How are you going to close the revenue gap if you had one election and you are taking away?
We did not win the election.
Yes.
Our brothers on the other side have won the election.
Yes, but you had a plan.
Our brothers on the other side have won the election.
I'm saying that
currently, our plan will not matter.
No,
so
it
let's
will
speak
matter.
to the plan.
No, it's a national.
No, Annie,
it's a national
Annie,
program. It's a national development.
Has not got our plans in there. It is the plans of the NDC. So we fine-tune it to make it work for the nation.
So let me ask you.
Let
me ask you this: was it going to be possible if you had removed those taxes you promised to have removed if you had won, to replace or close the revenue gap? Was it going to be possible?
We were going to come under quite a number of revenue measures, like she mentioned the compliance issue. The compliance issue is already stated in the medium-term revenue strategy. And we got to know through the NIA cards that there were quite a number of people who were working and eligible to pay taxes but were not on the tax net. So we were going to use the same compliance measures, aggressive compliance measures, to make sure we bring in. We had a program, we implemented the program, and in 2024, that was how come, in addition to all the other handles, we saw us increasing and hitting the targets over and above to the tune of 186 million. Annie, let me also mention that you said that Felix Ofosu-Kwakye mentioned responded to the compensation issue of 2.7 billion. I'm afraid that is not true. The issue is in 2024, when you look at the Office of Government Machinery, which is the Jubilee House, we had quite a number of agencies under it We had the Ministry of Public Enterprises under it. We had the Scholarship Secretariat under it. We had MASLOC under it. We had the NIA under it. We also had the development authorities, the Home Rental Scheme, and the Council of State. And in 2025, is the the Council of States, the OGM headquarters, the National Security, and and government communications that we find in there, in addition to the smaller agencies that are in there. So when in 2024, with all these agencies, you had a salary of or compensation of 326 million Ghana cedis. And here we are, public enterprises is gone, so it's no more under OGM. Scholarship Secretariat has been moved to the Youth and Sports Ministry. The National Identification Authority has been moved to the Interior Ministry. The IPEP program has been scrapped. So if you tell me that you scrap all these programs, you introduce national security alone, in addition to the existing ones, SIGA was under OGM. SIGA is now under Ministry of Finance, so it's also not there. And then you tell me that you take out all these agencies and bring only Ministry of former Ministry of Information, and then you add on national security. It should go up to the tune of 2.7. That's a lie. It can't be true. National security last year had a budget of 1.28 billion as their compensation, assuming we add the 10%, which the president gave to public workers in 2025. Fast forward, let's say, to 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. And then we had the existing 300 million, because quite a number of them are off. That is 1.8. You cannot explain to me that the 78 staff and directors of Ministry of Information alone is $1 billion. Check their salary last year. So they should come again. We believe that the salary under the Jubilee House, the 2.7, is over bloated. And if they claim that they want to rationalize expenditure, they should start from that place.
You made this point during the budget debate.
We are yet to start the budget debate.
Well, we're yet to start.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't started yet? It's starting tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
So you would demand a further explanation to that?
That's all we are asking for, that we need further and better particulars to this particular issue, because you can't take away 6 or 7 and include 2. And 2, like I stated, maximum national security had last year was 1.28 billion. Fast forward, you add the 10% to it. You even add the 10% to the agencies that have been put here. And 2.7 billion, Annie, it's unheard of in compensation alone. Not just that, you introduce quite a number of new interventions, giving them huge sums of money. And then you give the women's banking, which is very dear to you, and it's something that you really campaigned on, 51 million Ghana cedis.
As seed money.
I thought it was a bank. And if it's a bank, what's the minimum capital requirements for banks? 400 million.
No, but you are ignoring the fact that they say seed money.
Well, seed money it
does not necessarily translate into the capital requirements.
So how are they going to so then in the budget, that is also lacking. That is why I'm saying that this budget lacks credibility, because if you put in 51 million as the seed money, how are they going to raise? At least then tell us how they are also going to raise the difference. That is also absent in here. And like I say, it is your first public policy document that speaks to your manifesto and all the policies that you want to channel. So we should find it in here, what you really want to do. And lastly, let me also talk about the fact that I did not see much in the private sector space. My sister was talking about the cages and all those things that we provided. But then you cannot say you inherited an economy that is growing at 5.7. Inflation was coming down from that huge number of 54%. GDP to debt to GDP at 61.8. All these numbers are far improvements from what we inherited in 2016.
But if you
need to create that enabling environment for the private sector. So I was thinking that when government says, I am rationalizing expenditure, you actually reduce your expenditure. But here we are, like I mentioned earlier, from 250 to 290 billion. But you do not see specific interventions stated in the budget for the private sector. If government really wants to rationalize expenditure, you should give the heavy liftings to the private sector, so that the private sector will take off all these things. Usually the private sector they usually give us more permanent jobs than the government to do. Government jobs are usually temporary. My sister here said that it's 4 years. They have a 4-year term. Beyond 4 years, and then what happens? But if you empower the private sector, their jobs are more lasting beyond a term of any government. And so I think we should put more emphasis on creating that enabling environment for the private sector so that they can do the heavy lifting. And that is what I also did not see here. And let me also mention the fact that the Agenda 111, we had ring-fenced sources of money to make sure we complete. Nobody ever said we were completing 101 or 111 hospitals in a day. This is propaganda. It doesn't happen. Even if you give contractors the same day and the same resources, they are all not the same. So clearly we had a plan. We never said we had completed all the 111. We had a plan to complete quite a number in 2024 based on the revenues that will come in. And we also ring-fenced the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, the GIF, to be able to do that. We put in some monies there. They also use that to raise more money to help us complete those hospitals. But what did we see? We saw no allocation.
Of what good do you do to a new government having such a capital-intensive policy, and you leave no finances for the governments that will come?
Annie, you mentioned one thing. You said government is a going concern. It is a going concern. In 2017, when the NDC government was leaving power, they claimed, and true, they left 250 million in the sinking fund. And then the external debt to be paid in 2017 was $1 billion. Did we ask them when we were going to get the 750 million to pay? It's a going concern. So together, we made sure we provided for and serviced those debts in 2017. So you cannot say you left this. It is a going concern. So whatever you inherit, you try as much as possible to work at it.
Then you are not being fair to this government, because this government came and went for loan to pay debts that you left. And then you went to the market to say or accuse the government of borrowing such and such and such amounts of money.
Government went for a loan to do what?
Government paid for debts that you left. We're not servicing debts in the past years. So government came and they started servicing debts. But we said that we're blaming the government.
Let me tell you, we haven't started. No, maybe you don't know. No, don't. Let me tell you. Just land and let me tell you. We haven't started resuming paying our external debts. We haven't. So we are not servicing. It is the agreement that we had with our external debt people and then our domestic debt people that we are taking care of. And then in 2025, during the transition, we made it known to the minister, the current minister, my own brother, Honorable...
During the transition?
That we usually pay 2 coupons, one in February, one in August. And so the one in February we know will be due shortly. So what we have done is to ring-fence the IMF funding that we got in December 2024. Keep it for you to be able to do that. So you find your feet and you tell me what? They went to borrow to do what?
So what did they do?
So that is what I'm telling you, that Annie, if you are not seated with the facts, let's not throw things out here.
No, so what
the truth is that we ring-fence that 326 million Ghana cedis for them to enable them pay the coupon that was due, that a little over 6 billion Ghana cedis coupon that they paid in February, and we're happy to announce to the whole world that they have paid this. So that is what we did. We know that it's a going concern. So if there is any support that we can also offer, we do it. And it is in that same vein that they left the 250 million in the sinking fund. And then when we found our feet, we were able to pay the 750 million. And then with the debt, the domestic debt exchange, we had about 96% participation. The 4%, let me tell you that it was voluntary, like you also said. And the 4% that did not take part in it, their monies, when it's due, will be given to them. Their interests have been paid to them. Consistently, their interests are being paid according to the schedule that they had for the old one. So for us to say that, hey, their monies would have been lost, it's those propaganda that destroys the financial sector. That is not true. The 4%, yes, we gave them timelines. There were times that it was very, very challenging for the government to live up to it. But eventually, we gave them what is due. All those who did not participate in the domestic debt exchange, They have their monies. When it's due, they will get what is due them. But never should somebody say that if you do not participate, your money will be lost. That is a lie.